Millie Bobby Brown just admitted something no one expected. Not a scandal. Not a feud. Something quieter. And somehow darker. It was not a red carpet slip. It was not a leaked DM. It was not a tabloid headline either. It was Millie herself, sitting across from an interviewer, calmly explaining that she doesn't know how to talk to people her own age. Fans come up to her, excited, normal, asking simple things. What bars do you go to? What are you doing this weekend? And she freezes. Not because she's shy. Because she genuinely doesn't have the reference points. And when a 21-year-old millionaire with a global fan base says she can't hold a casual conversation with someone her own age, that's not a cute quirk, that's a red flag industry insiders have been whispering about for years. Millie Bobby Brown became famous at 11 years old. By 12, she was a global phenomenon. By 13, she was walking Met Gala carpets next to women 3 times her age. Stranger Things turned her into a cultural fixture before she'd even finished middle school. To the outside world, it looked like a fairy tale. The shy kid from a big family who got plucked out of nowhere and handed a career most adults would kill for. But here's what nobody wanted to say out loud. A child actor's set isn't a classroom. It isn't a playground. It's a workplace. And on that workplace, the people surrounding an 11-year-old aren't other 11-year-olds. They're camera operators, gaffers, producers, executives, grown adults, mostly men, running a multi-million-dollar production. Millie herself has now confirmed what many suspected. Her formative years weren't spent making friends her own age. They were spent learning how to navigate rooms full of middle-aged professionals. That's the part of the story everyone glossed over while they were busy calling her a prodigy. So how did we get here? Let's go back. When Stranger Things premiered, Millie wasn't just good. She was the show. A silent, shaved, headed girl with nosebleeds and telekinesis, carrying entire episodes with barely a line of dialogue. Critics praised her. Audiences adored her. And Netflix, sensing gold, built an empire around her face. Magazine covers, fashion campaigns, a seat at award shows next to actors who'd been working since before she was born. But while the world celebrated the prodigy, almost nobody asked the obvious question. Who is actually raising this kid while all of this is happening? The answer, according to Millie's own words years later, is complicated. Not neglect, not abuse. Something subtler and arguably just as consequential. A childhood spent almost entirely inside adult spaces. Trailers, green rooms, press junkets, award show after-parties. Places built for professionals to network, not for a preteen to develop the ordinary, social instincts most of us take for granted. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. Because while Millie was learning to hit her marks and deliver lines on cue, she wasn't learning what a normal 13-year-old learns from actual friends. How to gossip about nothing, how to navigate a first crush, how to sit awkwardly at a lunch table. Instead, her social education came from watching adults negotiate deals and manage publicity. And by the time she was old enough to actually want that peer connection, the muscle for it simply hadn't developed the way it does for everyone else. She said this herself, plainly, without spiraling into self-pity. She says she's happy. She says she loves being a young mother now, chasing her daughter around, finally getting a version of ordinary life she never fully had. But buried inside that admission is something heavier. A tacit acknowledgement that fame didn't just take her privacy. It took the years most people spend figuring out who they are outside of a job. And then there's the part of this story people can't stop dissecting. Her marriage. Millie married Jake Bongiovi, son of rock legend Jon Bon Jovi. A fellow nepotism, adjacent kid who, by her own description, is the more socially fluent one in the relationship. He went to boarding school. He went to college. He had the version of adolescence she never got. And according to Millie, he's the one who helps balance her out in social situations. The one who can walk into a room and make small talk, while she quietly relies on him to do the heavy lifting. On the surface, that sounds sweet. A partnership. But dig one layer deeper, and it raises an uncomfortable question critics have started asking online. Is Jake filling in a genuine gap left by an unusual childhood? Or is there a quieter dynamic here, where one partner learned how to be the face of stability, specifically because the other one never got the chance to build those skills herself? Neither of them has addressed that framing directly. And that silence is exactly what's kept the conversation alive. Because here's the thing about child stardom. Nobody in Hollywood likes to say on the record. The industry doesn't just borrow a kid's childhood. It restructures it entirely, and it rarely gives it back. Millie isn't the first actor to describe this kind of disconnection, and she won't be the last. But she may be one of the most famous examples of it happening in real time, in front of an audience of millions who watched her grow up without ever asking what that growth actually cost her. Now compare that to her co-star, Louis Partridge, someone who had a comparatively conventional route into fame. Normal school, then acting later. In recent joint interviews promoting their new film together, the contrast is almost uncomfortable to watch. Millie is warm, quick, effortlessly charming with interviewers. He, by comparison, comes across stiff, sometimes visibly unsure of pop culture, references she rattles off instantly. It's being framed online as a cute dynamic. The bubbly co-star carrying the interview while her scene partner fumbles. But some fans have pointed out something darker underneath the humor. That Millie's polish isn't natural charisma built from a normal life. It's a decade of media training, formed under a spotlight most adults could never survive. So which is it? Is Millie simply a remarkably composed young woman who's made peace with an unconventional path? Or is her calm, camera-ready presence itself a kind of coping mechanism? A skill built out of necessity because the alternative, the awkward invisible version of herself, was never allowed to exist on camera. Her team has never confirmed there was lasting damage. Her interviews are framed as reflective, not regretful. She insists she's grateful for the life she's had. But every time she casually mentions not knowing how to talk to fans her own age, or leaning on her husband to be the social one, it reopens a debate that Hollywood has spent decades trying to keep quiet. What exactly happens to a child when their entire adolescence becomes content? There's still no clear answer about how she'll navigate raising her own daughter inside that same industry. There's still no confirmation on whether Jake's social ease is compensation, coincidence, or something the two of them have simply never unpacked publicly. And there's still an entire generation of former child stars watching Millie's honesty, wondering if they'll ever be brave enough to say the same thing about their own missing years. So here's the real question. When an industry takes a child's entire adolescence and turns it into a franchise, who actually owes that person their childhood back? And is fame and fortune ever really a fair trade for it? Let us know what you think in the comments. And if you want more of the stories Hollywood hopes you'll never connect the dots on, subscribe to Celebzova right now.